I want you to think back to the first time you ever remember being truly afraid. What was it? Does it stick with you today? This is the sort of thing that we talk about on the House of Asher. Won't you join us? And welcome everybody to House of Asher. You're listening to episode 31. It's interesting that it happens to be episode 31, but if you turn that around, or if you're dyslexic as I am, that's 13. We just celebrated Friday the 13th yesterday, so we're kind of coming in off of that vibe. I'm going to touch on some of the meanings behind Friday the 13th, and then the origins of that, in fact, with our guest that I will introduce here in a few moments. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I do want to say, because a lot of times I forget to say this because I'm talking so freaking fast and I forget what I'm saying. I do want to thank Allers Oddities in Paducah, Kentucky for sponsoring us. Also, Dare to Dream baths, body butters, and bath bombs. They make my little signature skull bath bombs, which are super gnarly and smell like sangria. It's super killer. And obviously Posh Embroidery. It does all my shirts and mugs and all that kind of cool stuff. Also Pace Center Printing in Princeton that does all my promotional stuff. Anyway, I've done enough kissing butt. Do want to say thank you guys for listening in. Like I said, we are now carried on my YouTube channel, which is House of Asher, which is probably what you're hearing this through, or you may also be hearing this on Conflict Radio, which is also now carrying my show. So we're getting little baby steps. Nothing too big, but we're getting there. But as I was saying, I do have a special guest today, and that's Mr. Mike Psyche, one of Pittsburgh's own. One of his what is called God's own creation. You know, too strange to live, too weird to die type of personality. I met Michael a while back online, and became fast friends. We both kind of were into a lot of the horror punk, Rocky Horror stuff. That's kind of where we bonded, and went off further into sort of punk, post-punk music, and the kind of cyberpunk and steampunk type ideologies and circles. I mean, it is kind of its own tribe. But without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Mike Psyche, man. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, I am just awesome, Steve. Thanks for having me on. And hey, out there to all you creeps and cuties, man. What's going on tonight?
Oh, man. Like I said, it's really kind of kooky because I'm actually recording this. It's Saturday night. It's the day after, and it's just after midnight. So we're creeping along here, just sort of enjoying the darkness. It's a little bit quieter here in Western Kentucky, where I'm recording. Things, you're either going to hear cicadas, frogs, tree frogs, or trains. Occasionally, the wild dog or the wild person walking up and down the street. Because I do live in town. As big as the town is, it's nothing like Pittsburgh, but it's town as it is here, and so you never know what's going to come creeping up the path. But so Mike, man, like I said, I really do appreciate you coming in and sitting in with me, man. Like I said, it's been a while. I was trying to put it together, and I've been meaning to get you on for a while, and it just
seems... just one question though,
lay it on me.
What's taking you so long? We're on episode 31,
dude. It's like
what's going on? 31 episodes before me. Come on, man! What the fuss is all about?
Man, I had to hone my craft. You got to understand that I'm not a host by nature. Maybe a horror host by nature, but it's taken me this long to kind of get my chops back. I performed live, playing in music and things like that, and in book signings and whatnot for my books. I guess I'll go ahead and plug it. Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary and Hauntings of the Western Lunatic Asylum. Plug. And so yeah, gotta get that touch, but what was I saying? Yeah, no, man, it was just a thing of building up to it. And it's so funny because we were talking about Friday the 13th and then how this is sort of an inversion of it, which, a lot of time in magic and stuff, there's, numerology plays into it big, and inversions of numbers and, mirror images of stuff. It sort of all ties into the mystical, like abracadabra, backwards is abracadabra. And that's what I was talking to you about. And I was like, well, man, it would be really cool to have you on this show. I was talking to when I say a friend. Like I said, the guy's more of an acquaintance, just because I haven't really sat and really talked to him as hard as I have with you. But I talked with Bobby Steele, who's like, one of the, yes, like the originator.
Mommy.
Mommy. So
Can I go out in?
Do it, yeah, man.
Bobby's still tonight.
That's it. And that's, what's so crazy about Bob is that, it's just he's never stopped. And you know how he got the name Bobby Steele, right? Not to make this the Bobby Steele show, but you know how he got the name Bobby Steele, right?
How's it go?
Okay, if I'm not getting this right, and I'm sure his wife, Mrs. Steele, will straighten me out as soon as she hears this podcast. He had to have, I believe, a rod put in his back or his spine fused, and he had that, I guess, as a younger kid, and it kind of made him kind of stand, kind of that. I'm not saying he has a Frankensteinish walk, but like on stage you're kind of stiffer than, you're not all spidery and moving around like snakish and stuff, and so they called him Bobby Steele. It's kind of like Johnny left eye if you're missing your right eye or something. Just sort of you take a negative but you make it sound like, oh man, Bobby Steele, that's a cool name. So I would be like, I don't know, Stevie Cholesterol or something like that.
That's how I got with Mike Psyche, and it was the type of music I was listening to.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. I mean, my stage name I try to limit how much cussing I do on it, but like Stevie B Word, a fatherless or a fatherless son, and so yeah, I mean, it was one of those things because I used to get mail and it would have that name on it, and people was like, do you want this? Is this for you? And I was like, yeah, that's a friend of mine from band days. I'm sorry. Like, can you imagine? Maybe changing the name, you're making it kind of harder for I'm living amongst the straights. But no, I mean, and that's something about art, and that's something about sort of the whole vibe, man, of like the Phoenix. You reinvent yourself, or maybe not so much reinvent yourself, but you let that element grow. You let whatever that little thing in you that makes you your own little quirky entity blossom.
Well, it is the Phoenix. You do keep reinventing yourself over and over again. It's I've had several different incarnations, throughout my life, and it's just like you go with what you got and you make it work.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the thing I was telling my kids, which, excuse me, I mean, I know you got children as well as I do, and it was a thing where I try to explain to them, like, the dude right now isn't exactly the dude that had you any more than I'll be the dude that when you guys are having kids, which I mean I got grandkids on the way now, but when I'm that guy, I said, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I still have some of that punk element to me, obviously, for sure. It's never going to go, and why would it? But it's a thing of, obviously, you change, and it's just one of those things like, young people tend to be more radical, and as you age into a certain position, you become somewhat more conservative, at least on certain points. And that's just weird, because like I said, went from playing, doing still work and playing music, and then, getting married and kind of putting away my guitars and selling my comics and stuff like that, which hurt, but, kids need diapers, right? And,
ouch.
Laying.
I'm hip to that.
Nose of the grindstone and just grinding it, 10, 15, 20 years till the kids are a little bit older. Then when you're maybe making enough money to kind of go, well, hey, I want to kind of get some of those odd little things I missed from my childhood, some of the old, monster kits and some of the little creepy things that, I used to have, as a kid. And slowly I started kind of building back up, and I found my inner monster kid. And that tied in at the same time with me writing scary books from my years of working in the penitentiary. That really brought my horror element back out, which was never completely gone. I always wore, more darker type tees and monster stuff on it, or skull stuff on it and stuff. But now I'm just kind of like, I don't really freaking care. People are going to roll with it, or they're going to dig it, or they're not going to dig it. I'm kind of at that point where of going, I mean, what's that I was saying? If you haven't grown up by the time you're 50, you don't have to. I think
I'm all in.
I'm about it. Yeah, I mean, you can be responsible. Just don't turn into that guy. I mean, if you want to sit and watch Bassmasters in your underwear and eat a TV dinner, and that's killer, man. Fine, have some fun. But I got living to do. I still want to do things. But you were saying, I'm sorry, brother.
Oh, no. I was going to say, like you said, you had to give up some things. Well, what's great about life is, it's stuff. And what what you can do with stuff? you can replace it with more stuff.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
well, there was like,
what was your,
well, go ahead. I was just saying
memories.
memories.
What was your first, model kit? Your monster model kit that that you had that that you wish you could replace.
Dude, I'm trying to think. It was one. There's one that it was Dracula, and I'm not sure if it was a model kit bank or something. It was weird, and you would do something to it, and he would set up in his coffin. And then I had one that was Frankenstein. That
I had Frankenstein. It was the Aurora Frankenstein kit.
Okay, now was it the one that had the glow in the dark parts on it?
No, mine just was the monster was in front of the Frankenstein tombstone.
Dig. Okay.
Oh, sweet. It was sweet.
Well, see, there was different ones. Wasn't there like Tesco ones and Aurora ones too? I know that because I don't know if there's another podcast which I really friggin' love. Gilbert Gottfried's Super Colossal Podcast. Plug.
Oh.
And it's great. Which I just kind of happened across it because I was listening to another one which was Dana Gould's like Amazing Hour or something, a comedy hour. And which he does a thing called Stand Against Evil, which I really dig. It's sort of like
that's a great show.
It's great. Well, I mean, you had so many people going, "Hey, man, that's like Ash versus Evil." I'm like, no, it's a different. No, it's a different. If you get past the guy and he's flopping heads and he's kind of a smart mouth and this and that.
I love that show.
Me too, man. And it's smart. It's a really well written show, and I'm trying to get my girls into it because my girls they're not like I'm horror like. I'm like sitting there like watching like, my God, you see that guy's head come off? That's me. You got different horror type fans, and I'm one of those guys. Like the
I'm fighting a losing battle here. I'm getting all the glittery vampires with the women in my household, and I'm like, oh, please, no more glittery vampires.
Well, man, I mean, we can't say a lot.
No vampires.
I know. Well, God, I mean, come on, though, man. We had Elvira in the '80s and stuff, and that's not. I'm not dogging chick at all.
That's camp, baby. That's camp.
That was campy, but I mean, it's just one of those things.
And TNA, yeah.
For me, as of the best vampire, genre-related film, what would you say it is?
Well, it's just I am so glad you happened to bring that subject up, because this one's near and dear to my heart with a project that I am involved with to the nines. It's Fright Night.
Are we talking about original Roddy McDowall Fright Night?
Yes, we are, sir. We are talking the original Roddy McDowall Fright Night, because right now, as we're speaking, the creator, Tom Holland, he has given his blessing and his permission to put on a stage production of Fright Night.
Seriously?
Yes, straight up, and it's going to be performed here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, over this upcoming October. And it's being put on by the Rage of the Stage Players. And not that I'm in the play, but you know how Peter Vincent, the star, Roddy McDowall,
that's right,
he shows movie clips to Brewster.
Right.
Well, they filmed these little vignettes of these supposed movies that they're going to show either on the internet or before the movie. And I was performing in one of those vignettes, and my little skit was called Last Call at the Bloody Mary.
Nice.
And where I'm playing a bartender, and Peter Vincent comes in and he does his shtick. And it's absolutely fantastic. We filmed it like 8 hours one Saturday afternoon at a local pub, and they're doing several of these. And like I said, they will be being shown either before the actual play performance, or actually, what is going to be great is the month prior, September.
Oh, they're gonna do a teaser, right?
Well, here, our local theater, the big, big Lowe's, AMC, whatever. You know how they run some older films? Well, they're going to be running Fright Night, and they made arrangements to show some of those vignettes before the actual movie.
Oh, that's killer. So it gives it the legitimacy of that, and the people go, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing that before the actual movie." That's killer, man.
Exactly, and I'm like so stoked. I just kind of like fell into this, and it was like, I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And it's like I even got a speaking line in this gig. So I mean, that's aces to me, brother.
That's killer, man. I mean, like I said, it really as close as I've gotten to like old school like camp royalty and stuff. I had Fred Olen Ray on, the guy that did like Texas Chainsaw Hookers and Alien Dead and all that stuff. And which is funny because he does like a lot of stuff for like Lifetime and for not for Hallmark, but like seasonal films. I mean, he's really honed his craft well enough to, not that you have to suck to make a B movie. You have to love B movies to want to make B movies. But
yes.
But it was
we played it up. It was all over the top. Our makeup was over the top. It was down to the plastic vampire teeth. That's
the way to do it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I saw. Have you ever seen like Wolf Cop or Another Wolf Cop?
Yes.
So, okay, wasn't bad. I looked at it, I'm like, man, I don't know, because sometimes when they try to do like a nod to B movies, it's just like not a good nod. It's like they lose the subtext and they just go for kind of like the visceral, goofy, whatever elements, and they don't really tie a quality story into it. But it really wasn't too bad. Which it had a lot of big names in it too. But no, man, that's killer. For me, okay, I'm trying to think. Fright Night, for it, like it can't be vampires. It's definitely one of the top ones. For me, of the modern vampire stuff, which I like Underworld and stuff, but it's kind of like Blade-ish, but like more like a royalty clan type thing. I always really loved the original 30 Days of Night, because they were so frickin' hardcore. There was no, like you said, there was no glitter to these guys.
No, they're grunge to the max.
Right, pure, just eaters, and which takes it back to the original thing, the original vampire, which the vampire thing was not, it was undead. They didn't seem like they had a huge distinction between like a ghoul or this or that. It's just all vampire. It's all strigoi. It's all undead. And which I dig that, because it was a little bit ambiguous and there was no rules. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's a vampire. He's going to come down in a cape and he's going to greet you and then he's going to come back and get you at night. Or if he's a wolf man, he's going to do this. There was none of that. It kind of did its own thing. For me, it was pretty ballsy film, and I liked it for the fact that, it took what had been years and years of, which, and I love Bela, which I know a lot of people call him Bella, but I think it's actually pronounced Bela. That I'm a nerd on that type of stuff. But they took a caricature of what he did, because his actual portrayal of stuff like that, like stuff like he did in that, and White Zombie and The Bat and all that crap was great. But then people do this and they try to camp it, or they try to ape it, and they only get, again, superficial elements. And which I'm not dogging Frank Langella, I'm not dogging all these other guys, but once you got to the point, like you said, sparkle vampires, you knew that something had went horribly wrong. Yeah. So, but I really dug that, and which, I loved all the original Universal stuff, the Wolfman, and I had that little kit. I went to the library. I'll tell you this real quick. I've mentioned it before, but I'll make it quick. When I was a kid, I had some paranormal experiences and freaked me out. And so I started going to the library to read about ghosts. Started reading Hans Holzer's books, and which was like considered the first ghost hunter, modern ghost hunter. And so I learned, well, ghosts generally can't hurt you, and this is what you can do to protect yourself. And sometimes it's this, sometimes it's not even a ghost. And anyway, but once I got the knowledge bug, I was like, well, it's time to learn. But I grew up too loving Universal monsters and television monsters because that was safe. I could watch Channel 5, you were talking about local horror hosts. We had the Count of Five, which I don't know if you know Dr. Gangrene. That was one of his big influences. Dr. Gangrene is out of Nashville, and is along the lines of like Zachary and guys like that. And
Yeah.
he's campy. He's not quite Svengoolie campy, but he's got that element. And but my guy was Count of Five. He was actually one of the weather guys, and he would dress up as Dracula, and he would open his show with Black Sabbath's Black Sabbath. And
nice.
I'm like, man, this is like right dead in the middle of like 74 or 73. So, it's just, I guarantee the studio, stunk of bong water, man. It was just like right in that zone. And so we're sitting there, and I remember like we'd be running around and probably listening to freaking Black Oak, Arkansas, and climbing trees outside or something. Just swampy country crap. And then you hear that dong, dong, ding, ding, boom, dong, 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 dong. Like, oh crap! And here comes a skull. It's glowing on. You're like, it's coming. But who was your horror host? I know you'd mentioned a theme that scared you. Do you remember the show or the horror host that really freaked you out?
Yes. It's kind of a overused name, but it was Chiller Theater, and it was hosted by one of our TV personalities here from Channel 11 called Chilly Billy, Bill Cardille. And Bill Cardille was a very well-known broadcaster in the tri-state area because he also did studio wrestling. So he would drive from Pittsburgh to New York and, do a TV show, a studio wrestling TV show, and then have to drive back to Pittsburgh and, he was like a weatherman. But he also, like I said, he had this studio wrestling on the weekend. But on Saturday nights, after the news, he'd have his Chiller Theater, and they'd play the theme from Experiment to Terror, and it was a Henry Mancini composition, but it was done completely different. And every time it would come on, it would just like scare the shit out of me. I'm like,
just ominous,
oh my god,
right?
here it comes. It was ominous.
So that was what, Channel 11, right? So they'd have stuff like Man Beast and the Curse of the Doll People and all those, old school.
But and then they had that real big hype over one summer where they were going to actually broadcast Creature in 3D, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it's like, and you had to go down to your local 7-Eleven or Stop and Go and get your 3D glasses, and it was just,
which was a great,
it was a great gimmick. It was a great gimmick, but you know how well that really works on TV, because it really doesn't. But it was still great. You still had to have it and sit and watch it, and like, oh, okay, he's coming now.
Right. Well, yeah, because you remember too, which that was a little bit before that real big '80s, Jaws 3D, this in 3D, Jason 3D.
Oh yeah, way before that.
Right. And I know that all our television sets up until I was probably 13 or 14 before I knew Scooby-Doo was brown. All our channels, all our stuff was in black and white. So everything we watched was in black and white. And so the horror movies, like especially those black and white stuff, fit perfectly. In fact, when I watch a show, don't get me wrong, I love color films. I'm not like I'm 90, and there's nothing wrong with being 90, but I'm just, not so locked into whatever. But I love watching the cinematography of the old black and white films, like the old Frankenstein and stuff like that.
That's how it was filmed. Yeah, you needed to have that, that atmospheric quality of it. That was what was all about. That's what Hammer was made on was the atmospheric of it. But with the difference between black and white and color, when did you get your first color TV?
Oh my God, I'm not for sure the year. I was born in '69, so it was, honest to God, man, it was probably right around the time MTV come out.
81?
Something 80, yeah, mid to early 80s, yeah.
Because that was whenever I had gotten my first color TV. It was back in 81. But up until that time, I'm like, when I got married in 81. But prior to that, I'm like watching this little 20-inch TV with my mother. Back when I was just a small fry, and my mother, she had a funny sense of humor, and we we sat down and we watched the William Castle movie, Homicidal.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about influences all my life. Okay, that that really messed me up. I'm like, whoa, what did I just watch? And from there, my life, just made a left turn. And then after that, it was like 1968. And then my sister, who lived in the college district of Pittsburgh called Oakland, takes me the opening week, 1968, to one of the 3 theaters in Pittsburgh that were showing Night of the Living Dead.
Oh my God, dude! How old were you then?
I was 8 years old.
No, you weren't ready.
And
for
this
that.
was straight up. This was before they had the rating systems. So this was like a double bill. I'm like, we're going to go see Night of the Living Dead because, hey, big hoopla-doo. It was filmed in Pittsburgh. Okay, so we go see this Doctor Who movie with Peter Cushing. Not even the real Doctor Who, but, Peter Cushing, Doctor Who. And then we see Night of the Living Dead, and it's like, my sister was like freaking out. And when the nude lady walked across the screen, she says, okay, we're going.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done.
Here.
I'm like,
yeah.
Fortunately, she only lived like 3 blocks from the theater, so we walked both directions. But like, damn, it was just getting good.
Right. Well, I'm trying to, because you're talking about William Castle and stuff, and I think of like The Tingler, and remember the scene where like the film stops, and then you hear Vincent Price like, "Ladies and gentlemen," I can't do the voice, I suck at it, but I wish I could. "Ladies and gentlemen, don't be alarmed. Please exit the. There's one loose in the theater now," and then they had the little things under the seat, and somebody would scream, "Ah!" Or and I think they probably had plants, and everybody's like, "Oh my God!" And it was so, that's what I love so much. You had those elements to it that I think we got to where, like, especially through the late 70s and then into the 80s and into the 90s, people figured out the formulas and it became very formulated, and then people was like, it's not that scary. It has to have like either a lot of CGI, and not that there's not good new movies out, but I just mean, like, for me, that slow, weird build up and that thing they're looking, off screen, just kind of cutting their eyes. You can see it. There's something right there, but you can't see it. For me, that was always really, really scary. Obviously, we had drive-ins in Princeton, which is where I live and was raised. Back in the day, I think it shut down probably in the late 80s. It was after like Superman 2 come out, because I remember seeing it at the drive-in and stuff. And I remember the first film. I think one of the first films I ever saw was at the drive-in with my older brother and my older brother-in-law and his wife, my sister. House of Wax.
Oh,
and great, right?
Beauty.
Great, and it was so cool, man. And you had the sound piping in, because it's where you actually put them. They had the speakers you put inside your doors, and so it like vibrated through your freaking car, and you like felt it in your chest. It's great, right? And so I don't know. I think that we kind of were in a glory time of it. I don't know. I mean, then again, the 50s was great too, because it was just all coming in with the sci-fi and all that. But yeah, man, I've often thought about wanting to try to do like a little film. I've talked to some people in Paducah, which is not too far from where I live. It's probably the biggest little metropolitan town if you don't count Nashville. And I always come up for I was always writing crappy like little ideas for like trauma films. Not that trauma films are crappy. I mean, they are crappy, but they're great in a way. I mean, they're crappy in a good way, and meant to be satirical. And I'd come up with all these like just god awful titles and stuff. And but then I'd had some ideas about whatever, a crazy serial killer worked at a pig farm or something, whatever. And so I'm just throwing this out, and it's like, man, just write this down. And so I'm talking to him. Maybe we're going to try to get some of the kids from the John A. Logan College up there to do it as like part of their, what do you call it, senior deal. And we can get basically all the work for free, which is the way I do it. I'll have to do it on kind of an Ed Woods type thing, cheap.
Well, yeah, of course.
So which would be great, because I mean, you got Carpenter that was from here. You had oh god, who's the guy that did he's from around Lexington, did a lot of the 70s stuff. I don't know if he did was it Prophecy? It had the bear and had like the mercury in the water. Remember that? It was like a bear, and he was like mutated.
What well, thinking of like stuff in the water. What was that? Cabin in the Woods. It was like 1, 2, and 3, where the water was contaminated by some dead body or something.
Right. Well, see, and you can take. That's a great thing about it. You can take all these different premises, and do it, and you can have even films like, which, if you look back at it now, like Blair Witch. Everybody's probably whatever. It was one of the first found film stuff. Man, I was living at the time. We were living in Farmersville, which is just outside of Princeton, about 7 miles out. It was me and my wife had just got married, and we had a small little trailer that we had on some property behind her mother and father's. I mean, it had well water. I'm talking, we were in the country. It was nice, but it was simple. And we would have to walk probably 50 feet to 100 yards from the trailer if we wanted to go visit her mom, which was right there, but it got foggy, and it was cornfields, and it was all stuff creeping out in the woods, and you're just got to watching this film, and you're going, Jesus Christ. And it's like, this is such a great film, man. This is so nuts. And I'm like, oh, God, we got to go out to the woods. And we're going to be living out in the woods. But it was cool, though, because like you said, the fact that it affected you in such a way it still carried with you. It's almost like you ever had like a really strong dream or a nightmare, and you come up out of it, and it's like you're sitting on the edge of the bed like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a dream. I'm pretty...
What the hell did I just experience?
Yeah, you're still kind of a little weird about putting your feet down on the floor. You don't want to have something to grab you. And I don't know. I mean, I think it happens to everybody, but especially somebody who touches off into kind of weirder stuff and the kind of crap that I write and the kind of type of stuff that, where you're involved in and stuff like that, and, everything from Rocky Horror to all the other stuff. I think your mind is open a little bit more, and I don't mean it like in some sort of deep intellectual way. It's just, I think your channels are clear, and you can run that path a little bit more easier than some folks that have certain preconceived notions or certain hang-ups, and they won't allow themselves to. So I don't know. It's a gift. It's a gift and a curse, I guess.
Question authority.
Yeah, always. I was going to ask you. We were talking about, you mentioned questioning authority and sometimes what can come back from it. We were talking about off air about Friday the 13th, and did you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you were saying the origins of Friday the 13th is?
Oh, well, of course, it was the demise of the Templars. Whenever the order came down for the execution of all the Templars, because they held all the money, all the gold. They were the bankers, of the entire of all Europe, and was what the King of France decided that he didn't want to pay them back, and then was in cahoots with the Pope at that time, and concocted a scheme where the Pope was going to have all the Templars go back to their stronghold, and then they came and captured them and tortured them, and made them confess the heresy, and then killed them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things that very kind of Machiavellian, I guess, just very, clearing the way, and that was always really trippy to me, because, I mean, you like talk about like Valentine's Day and the origin of Valentine's Day, which was creepy too. Everybody has like all these different little, like, oh, this is kind of a cool little tradition, and then, I end up being that guy in the corner go, if you really want to know what it's about, it's like, oh God, man, come on, let me just enjoy it. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I'm like, yeah, man, you need to know where this comes from. That people paid, with their lives for this superstition that stuck with people, and this is probably, I guess, this is what, before the Protestant reparations and all that stuff. I'm sure I butchered that, but I knew there was a lot of moving and shaking in the Catholic compounds, and people not wanting to give up power and stuff. Oh, dude, kind of unrelated, but just something I read. There was a thing, and it was talking about there was these skulls. I just saw it on the internet, so it's true. It had a thing where they said that apparently there was these skulls that were found by, I guess,
crystal
Catholic
skulls
Church.
that were found by Indiana Jones, right?
Okay, well, no, actually, no. Funny you mention that. Slow down. No. All right, yeah. Okay, don't let me forget crystal skulls. I'll tell you something cool in a second. But no, these guys found these skulls that were like wackadoodle, man. Looked like something off Predator. Had all these freaked up mandibles and like multi-jointed mandibles and stuff. And they, spirited them away to the Vatican, and so either to suppress any knowledge of UFOs, or then some people say, well, they were demonic skulls, whatever. Of course, so of course you want to put them in a church. Why would you want to put something demonic in a church? But it doesn't make any sense. I think you'd want it as far away from that as you could. But I just thought that was really trippy. But then again, I mean, you think about how a lot of stuff has been locked up, and for the, and I'm doing air quotes, good of the health of the church, from Mother Church and all that, kind of like
stay asleep,
yes,
consume,
obey,
reproduce, obey,
right. But we can actually talk for like 20 minutes about They Live easily. But crystal skulls. Okay, so I have another friend. I have this weird little cabal of freaks, mutants, and ne'er-do-wells, which I do account you among those. So congratulations. But just pick a pitch what you want to be, a freak or ne'er-do-well, or both. So anyway, this guy was the son-in-law of the guy that was called the original Indiana Jones. And the reason he was called Indiana Jones is because he was from, figure it out, that's right, Jersey. Indiana. That would be
PA.
yeah, that's right. That would be Glenn Danzig Jones, or that would be a different sort of vibe. But he likes whips. He likes whips, wearing masks and stuff. That's okay. And that ties into the Bobby Still thing. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah.
I met Glenn. It was a long time ago.
I don't know. I've got different people saying different things. I think if you met a man, I've had people meet me coming around off stage. You're amped up. You're hot. You're wanting to get the heck off of there, get you something in your stomach, or cool down, and just get out of, just tune off for a second. Then you have somebody wanting to run up and either doing something silly or overstepping bounds. And sometimes people think, hey man, I'm a fan, so I should have the right to just grab, put my hands on your shoulder. Hey man, that's still a person. They still have boundaries. People think, what was the thing? We owe you nothing, you have no control, right? The old Fugazi song. Just because you own some of my merch doesn't mean you own me. So please give me respect.
Well, that was when I met Glenn. It was back in the day, right? Whenever his group Sam Hain came out, and he was
Sam Hain.
He was in Pittsburgh, and he was playing a show at the only club that mattered, the Electric Banana, and they played there, and what a name. It was fantastic. It used to be an old strip joint years ago. They used to have go-go dancers, and the owner, was like, he married one of the dancers, and they transferred the go-go bar into a rock and roll punk place, and it's
right.
They changed it into an Italian restaurant, but that's another story. But I mean, I was very respectful when I met Glenn, at the Electric Banana, and it was just because I knew every inch of the place. I had access to everything, and so I was upstairs, where the band was at, and I got them, sign my record and shit. But
so cool.
he was very, very accommodating. But like I said, that was back in the day.
I think depending on how you, not to walk what you're saying, but it depends on how you come at the guy in the situation, man.
It's very respectful and very, you give people respect, you get respect. Bottom line.
Well, everybody says he's difficult to work with. That's okay. I am too. I mean, I don't mean that like I'm I'm a hard ass, but I'm just saying, look, man, when I wrote 99% of the music, when I do pretty much 99.9, I don't know if that's right. I suck at math. Of like the lyrics, unless it's something we're writing together, it's like, hey man, I got some wiggle room. Give me some ideas. If they go, hey man, I can't think of anything. Okay, if I write a song and I think I got it sounding right, I don't want you playing. I don't want you crapping it up. I don't want you dialing it in. Play it or don't. And I took that kind of work ethic from him, especially in the Sam Hain stuff, because I was very much a kind of a if I was prettier and thinner, I probably would have been more of a goth kid. But I look countryish, so I'd be like Goth Brooks, I guess. Would it be a great name for a horror host, by the way? Goth
That's
Brooks.
That's leave a mark.
Oh God, it'll smell like corn.
Ouch.
Oh, what does it say? No, but yeah, no, man. I think he's misunderstood, and even if he's whatever, give the man respect. He's been in it a long time. People can crack fun and whatever. But he's been super influential, so give the man respect. I would.
Like I said, I gave him respect. It was great. I had the same experience with Henry Rollins. I mean, they came to the Banana, and I'm over there wearing my Charles Manson shirt, okay? Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Oh, we got to have the shirt. We need the shirt now. Give us your shirt." So I made a backroom deal for my Charles Manson shirt, and the next, because they played like 2 nights, and the next night he was wearing a Charles Manson shirt, and he because this one did not have a SWAT sticker on the forehead. Of course, the next night they made it anatomically correct and put the SWAT sticker on his forehead. But that's
right. That's punk rock, baby. Let me ask you something. Like, we're winding down. In about the next minute or so, what can you throw me? I know you got some stuff going on with the car show and all that. Give me a quick breakdown on that.
Okay, Trundle Manor. Check us out at trundlemanor.com. TRUNDLE Manor MANOR.com. We are the local tourist trap here in Pittsburgh. We're the largest tourist trap in all of Swissvale, so please check us out there. We have a monthly creep rod and creature show where you bring your cars. It's a reptile show. We have bands. We have live tattooing going on. So that's once a month going on there. You're in Pittsburgh, check us out over at Trundle Manor. We have a monthly movie night. It's really cool. You can check us out. We appeared in Coffin Cuties magazine. It's my buddy Mike Hurst magazine out of Baltimore. What does it sound like? It sounds like gores and chicks. Well, that's what you got. You got skin and blood and rock and roll and horror movie reviews. So, but we appear in the issue where we were interviewing the Dam, Dave Vanian, and we went down to Baltimore and we spent the weekend with Mike and had a great time going to all the different sites in Baltimore. Went to the old Ouija board factory where that was at, and Poe's last depot where they found him dead. But check us out in Coffin Cutie magazine. And what else did I got? I mentioned Fright Night for Real, and I think I covered my bases.
Cool, man. If you can send me a link to that, I'll try to put it in the description. And when I share this, I'll make sure to get that out there. Also, I want to make sure to tell everybody, I want to thank you for being on, Michael. Or Mike, pardon me. I'm getting formal with you, my God, sir. But I do want to thank you. Make sure to check my stuff out at stevieasher.com. And as the night's winding down, I want to thank everybody. I want everybody to check under their beds, check in their closets, look out the back windows. You never know who's going to be out there creeping around. And I thank you as always.
People, the sun never sets on those who ride off into it.
There it is. And until next time, thank you guys, and stay creepy.